You're working on a startup idea. If I asked you what your next milestone was, you would say something like, oh, we're trying to get X, Y, and Z finished so that we can raise VC funding. My name is Brian Scordato, and this is the Idea to Startup podcast. Season 1 is all about helping idea stage founders build the foundation for a great business. And for most of you, this won't and shouldn't involve spending your time trying to raise money. 99% of new companies don't raise any sort of institutional capital. Of the 1% that do, only 1% of those become unicorns. We're looking at a tiny, tiny fraction of companies that venture capital funding is relevant for. Whatever you're building, it's most likely not your best use of time to figure out how you can make your business look attractive to venture capitalists. But this is what people spend time on because this is what's written about. If you go on TechCrunch, there isn't an article about a company reaching $1 million in annual recurring revenue or $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue. All the headlines are about companies raising their Series A. But since this is only relevant to such a small number of companies, it becomes a terrible influence for early stage founders. I've run Tacklebox, a company that helps founders with full-time jobs validate their startup idea so that they can build it for the past 4 years. We've had hundreds of companies go through the program, and they've gone both routes. A very small percentage of companies have gone on to Y Combinator and gone on to raise capital. And for that small percentage of companies, it is the best path you can take. But most companies haven't done that. We've figured out ways to build companies and build profitable businesses and products without funding. That's probably more relevant to you, but the tactics for those are hidden. For an early stage founder, raising funding sometimes feels like a cheat code. That first product build or the journey from having nothing to having something that customers love seems really daunting. And without raising $1 million, it seems like you can't do it. But you can. And most companies do that reach that point. So this podcast is about exposing you to tactics that help you get through that process and exposing you to founders that have already done it. And our guest list is awesome. It includes founders of companies like Brooklinen, Luke's Lobster, and Baron Fig. And we even let some venture capitalists in the door to tell their side of the story. They're very thoughtful about what companies should think about pursuing raising capital and which shouldn't. We'll also talk about all the things that our founders at Tacklebox have done to successfully go from somebody with an idea and a full-time job to somebody running an amazing startup. We'll launch April 22nd. We'll have 10 weeks straight of guests and tactics, and I hope that you'll subscribe to figure out how to clear these first hurdles so that you can build something meaningful without funding. Funding is occasionally necessary, but for most of the founders out there, it is a total waste of your time and it's hamstringing you and not allowing you to build something that could change your life. Let's figure out how to do that.